It should be about taking care of your life first. Whether, do you call it spirituality? I do just calling it just like personal development, because life is always going to be on top of the artist journey. So if we don't take care of life, there is no artist journey.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Headliner Mindset Podcast. Now, I know so many of you that are listening are electronic music artists that are grinding and hustling and making music every day, making content every day, and chasing the dream, working hard towards becoming the headliner that you were born to be. And I fucking love that. And I have had the privilege of working with hundreds, if not maybe thousands of artists at this point during my 15 years of working with artists in the music industry, from major record labels to helping launch Insomniac's Discovery Project, to being a manager, to working at Icon Collective. And I've seen it happen. I have seen people go from sleeping on their friend's couch to touring the world, making millions of dollars. It is possible. But I've also seen far more people not make it happen. So many people that have slipped through the cracks, that have at some point got burned out, got exhausted, and just quit on their dream. Because the reality is, yes, this is really difficult. It is a huge mountain to climb. And I've also come to realize that it's not just about strategy. It's not just about having great music. It's not just about being good at marketing and branding and being in the right place at the right time. All of that is true, but underneath that, there's a deeper layer, which is really about how's your mindset? How's your energy? Who are you as a person? How are you showing up for yourself? How much do you actually really believe in all of this? And what are you doing every day to make it happen? There's this conversation that a lot of people aren't having. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I do. And I'm also so passionate about what I'm about to share with you guys, which is my very first ever free masterclass. I really want to teach you guys what it actually takes, because yes, it is about strategy. It is about the music business. But if you don't have your mindset and your energy dialed in, if you're not being the person that you need to be, it's not going to happen. Straight up. So I want to invite you guys to join me for this free masterclass where I'm going to teach you and show you what I work on with my clients. This is stuff that I've been doing for 7 years, working with hundreds of artists now, just one-on-one through my coaching. And I'm going to break it down. I'm going to share it with you. So I would love to see you there. If you've been following the podcast and resonating with the content, this is going to be an awesome opportunity to go even deeper and to get connected with me. We'll have a space to answer questions. So would love for you to join. It's happening on Monday, March 31st at 5 o'clock PST. You can go register at nickcherwink.com/masterclass. I'll put that link in the show notes, but I'd love to see you there. Now, speaking of mindset, I'm so excited to introduce my guest for this week, because he is one of the only other coaches and mentors that I have seen in this space that's also having this conversation, that also recognizes it's not just about the music and everything else, right? It is also about your mindset, your emotional intelligence, just who you are as a person. And we really dive into that on this episode. He has done some incredible things in the industry. He's launched a huge brand in the techno scene, throwing parties from San Diego to LA. He has a merch company, a website. He's built this incredible brand called 6 a.m. And I'm very excited for you guys to check out this episode. So please enjoy my conversation with JIA from 6 a.m. Group. JIA, what's up, brother? Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, what's up, Nick? How's it going? Thank you so much for having me through a recommendation from Michael.
Yes,
someone we know. So yeah, I have to give him a shout out for that as well.
Bro, I'm so glad you did that, because I was literally going to do the same thing. I always like to shout out and give a little bit of context to usually how I meet my guests. And Michael Helton, shout out Melt, M-H-E-L-T. Go look him up. His music is so fucking good. But not only that, he's one of my favorite people in the world. Like we've done one-on-one coaching together. I've had him in a men's group together. He's been in other coaching groups that I've done. Like we've done a lot of work over the past couple of years, and he's just one of the most solid, genuine fucking dudes. So when he looped us in, he was like, yo, you got to meet JIA. He's the man. You guys are kind of kindred spirits. So I'm really excited to get connected with you.
Right on. Yeah, no, I'm super excited about that. And I agree in terms of his musical talent and just who he is as a person. I always get a sense of peace and calmness when I hang out with him, or like when when you talk to him. So
yeah, dude,
that's what he brings to a very chaotic industry or community that we are in.
Yeah, we all could use a little bit more zen and peace and groundedness, I think, in this world. So
100%, man.
I love that, man. Well, I've known about 6 a.m. group for a while. Back when I worked at Icon Collective, I would see some of our students playing those shows. I started seeing parties popping up. You guys were throwing shows and throwing parties in LA, in the techno scene. So I've known about the brand for a while. I would love to hear a little bit about the story behind 6 a.m. group. What inspired you to start it, and what is it exactly that you guys do over there?
I launched 6 a.m. Group as a hobby in March of 2008 in San Diego. And my only reason to starting that collective or this brand was because I was trying to DJ in the local circuit. And during the MySpace days or Friendster days, if you look at every flyer, like every DJ name has some sort of affiliation. That was the thing. Like a DJ name and affiliation is almost like the standards of the mid 2000 flyering. And I feel like because I wasn't part of one, I did try to join other groups, and I think perhaps my approach or my energy of just being too excited, it didn't really resonate well. And plus, networking, making friends in a new city is always hard. So I really was like, you know what, since no one's taking me in, I'm just going to start this thing called 6 a.m. At the time I was, working at a financial district in San Diego, had to be at work at 6 a.m. But then on the weekends, I will literally be at a liquor store waiting for them to open because we're still after partying. So like,
Yes.
that's like the origin of 6 a.m. where like how it got started. But then it's funny because it's been 17 years now. It's going to be 17 years next month.
Wow.
And now 6 a.m. means a whole different meaning. I mean, I was up that time. I was at the gym this morning. It seems like you're also a gym guy as well, too, I imagine.
Yep. I'm a 6 a.m. guy, too. That's my sweet spot. I'm not always dialed in, but like when I'm dialed in, I'm a 6 a.m. guy. Yeah.
For sure. So that's kind of like the backstory behind it. But then ultimately, like what we were, it's like our identity was created through the journey, because back then, I didn't know what I was. It was just this brand. And I just started like writing about music. I just had a Blogspot account and a MySpace account and was just promoting shows and raves around the area because there wasn't a lot of information at the time. And so that was kind of the beginning of my promoter journey, if you will. I just started doing it. And in August of 2008, I moved to Los Angeles. And that's a lot of people think 6 a.m. is an LA brand, and it is, but it started in San Diego, and I always want to start from there. And then it was when I moved up to LA, during that time, that's when, the whole scene opened up, and I was promoting for a lot of Hollywood clubs at the time. So Vanguard used to be the old Create, Avalon's still there. Yeah. There was a club night every night during that time from Monday to Monday. There was Monday Social, Focus Tuesdays, Melodic Wednesdays, a Random Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we were promoting, pretty much sub-promoters for all these parties. And, during that era, I collected a lot of emails, and that was the beginning journey of how I eventually launched my own parties. I've always wanted to DJ and also throw parties. That was kind of like why I got into it. Like the party was fun. DJing looks, was even more fun than the actual partying. And so, being 22, 23, that was the sole intention. And I would have to say that, it's been one of the craziest journeys, because not only was there a lot of self-discovery of like me as a human being, like, what do I want? Like, why am I doing this? Like, this thing is so crazy. It's kind of toxic at times. And to save, everyone just some more breath, I mean, like the journey went from sub-promoter, and then eventually in 2015, we did our first warehouse parties. But before that, have to give you the story. So I'm originally from Guam, which is a U.S. territory based in Asia, lots of World War II history stuff. And I launched a music festival in 2013. So it was just always this like events collective. And then through the events journey, it kind of just opened up more doors. And I have to give a shout out to my past mentor, Steve Pryor, who told me one thing that kind of changed the path of 6 a.m. and my journey forever. Eventually, I did start to DJ a lot, like every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Avalon, Joseph's, Vanguard, Side Patio, all that stuff. And I was getting burnt out. And I'm like, wait, I got what I wanted through 6 a.m. and this is 2010. But why am I feeling like miserable and sad? And he said these few very simple words that changed forever. Is, hey, why don't you just be more than a DJ? I was like, you know what? I'm going to do just that.
Yeah.
And I went back and I had this like personal journey of like, you know what, I think I should try to do more than what is on the surface. And so then that's when I launched the 6amgroup.com website, and we started writing blogs, newsletters, media, started covering more grounds and being more of a global company, because up until then, we were just more like local promoters, if you will. So that was kind of like what led into that early 2010 era. And then in 2015, after collecting emails for 7-8 years, we had a list for us to start throwing our own DIY parties. Because here's what happened, Nick. So after I stopped sub-promoting, I started working with the clubs directly. And the deals are always shit. Excuse my language. It's either like, all right, they have a bar guarantee. The DJs make their money and you don't get any of the bar. You only get the tickets, but all your friends want to come party for free.
Explain real quick I'd love to just break down what that actually means and looks like as far as a bar guarantee, just for people that don't understand what that is. People that might be interested in throwing their own shows are probably curious about how does that work with a venue. If I want to throw a party, do I have to pay for it? Like you said, a bar guarantee. Can you just break that down of what that actually means?
So if you work with a normal nightclub or a bar, you can throw your party for free in the beginning. Like, you can throw it for free, but what a bar guarantee is essentially a contract saying, look, we'll give you the venue, my staff, like everything for free, our facilities, but you have to make sure the bar guarantees $5,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000. We've heard all sorts of numbers before. Yeah. And your job as a promoter is to cover that guarantee. If you want to walk away without losing any money, make sure you sell enough door tickets to cover your expenses, and then also make sure you bring enough drinkers to cover that bar guarantee, because you could,
and which is hard sometimes in the electronic music space. Like, not everybody's drinking. People might be doing drugs. Like, let's be straight up, so sometimes it's like you get a $5,000 bar guarantee, but maybe everybody there are taking other party supplements, and
exactly.
So they're not actually drinking a lot at the bar. So then you only sell $2,000 worth of alcohol at the bar. Now you got to pay $3,000 to the venue.
Right. Or $9. Look, $8 bottles of waters exist for that reason. So if any of you are wondering, like, what the fuck's wrong with this club charging $7 a bottle, dude, it's because they have a bar guarantee to make, and the margins on a bottle of water is really, really high as well. Yeah. But yeah, look, my first party that I had a bar guarantee was an after hours at a legit club, meaning I couldn't even sell alcohol. It was just water and Red Bull for like 5 hours, and we almost hit the bar guarantee. But it is what it is, and that is essentially what a bar guarantee is, and it can make or break you ultimately as a promoter, especially if you're starting out without a lot to lose.
Got it. So now you stepped into not just being the sub promoter, you had collected enough email addresses over all of these years, and you stepped into actually throwing your own shows, doing deals directly with the bars and the venues and stuff, and throwing your own parties. Yeah,
correct. And then through that experience, working with regular venues and nightclubs, it just wasn't worth it in terms of like, well, if you're not taking the whole night, it's just really not worth the squeeze unless you're booking a big act. But if you're a new promoter, you're not going to book your favorite headliners because they belong to the Live Nation worlds, right? Insomniac, et cetera. Like, there's a pecking order in terms of how you grow as a promoter, even if you have the money. But like, it's your first party. The agent's not going to be like, oh, okay, great, you can pay for it. Here's our best artists for you to do the show. Yeah.
The agent is going to have loyalty to the Insomniacs, the Live Nations. There's a political, like you said, pecking order behind it of like, if you want to play EDC, you better be playing Insomniac clubs and not going and playing some random kid that's throwing a party.
Exactly. But however, there are ways to navigate that. Like, if you do establish yourself as a legit promoter and Insomniac for whatever reason can't take the gig, or like it's EDC, there are opportunities where, like, if you establish yourself as a promoter, you can get those bookings, but it does take some time to grow into that. You got to make sure you can just pull people without a headliner. That should be your basis foundation as a promoter, is like, what is your real pull?
Like, regardless of who's playing, are people still going to come just because it's a 6 a.m. party, not necessarily because it's, whoever's headlining.
Exactly. Right. Although, it's a tough battle still.
Yeah.
But yes, because headliners drive ticket sales, man. That's the reality.
Yeah. What I really love about your story, and this is a conversation I've been finding myself having a lot lately is that you didn't limit your creativity and your creative energy. I know part of that was kind of like you said you were burning out and you're like, okay, I'm just burning out on DJing. So there are these other avenues that I can put my energy into that might be more rewarding. And like I said, I've been having this conversation a lot with people recently because I think a lot of artists in a similar way are limiting their creativity. As a producer, if all you're doing is like, okay, I am an electronic music producer, this is who I am, and so my creativity belongs in the studio, and this is like the one thing that I'm working on, I think a lot of times your creative energy actually wants to go in different directions, but you're trying to force it in a particular direction.
Exactly.
Right? Like you might, like there might be, and when I say creative energy, I mean that there is this like spiritual energy, life force that is like the muses are trying to visit us with ideas, that we are all creative beings. We're meant to create. It's why we're here. And sometimes we are trying to control where it goes rather than allowing that energy go where it wants to go. Right? Like you might be trying to be like, oh, I want to be a techno producer so bad. And so I'm grinding. If it feels like you're grinding and you're burning out, you are trying to force your energy into a corner. Whereas when you open yourself up and say like, wait a minute, yeah, what else is possible? Where else might this energy want to go? What actually feels exciting? That's the question I've been asking people. It's like, yo, if this is feeling really hard and you're feeling burnt out, it's probably not the thing to be putting your energy into maybe right now. Like what actually is exciting for you? It's launching the website was exciting. Throwing parties was exciting. Cool. Allow yourself to go do that and don't limit your creative energy to just be in this one thing, because that can be exhausting sometimes.
I mean, I love that you said that. Yeah, because a lot of artists, they see their entire journey as linear. Make music, DJ, send out demos, meet promoters. Yay, I'm here. And it's like, no, like it is not linear. It
doesn't have to look like that.
It's most of the time, it's not. It's their own perspective that is how it goes. But I always say it's make music, DJ, something else, and then it will take you to it, right? And I think the more that you allow yourself to experience more of this industry, right? And to give you more context, I mean, on top of being a DJ promoter, label owner, an agent as well, now a mentor, we're also the releasing and dropping merch. So really, all encompassing. At one point, we were dealing with artist visas, so it's just like everything encompassing related to it. I kind of just dabble my head into to kind of see if I like it or not. And through that journey, it kind of just gave me this more holistic view in terms of how to approach it, right? So a lot of the pushbacks that I get from artists that, is like, well, you're not an actual touring DJ. It's like, yeah, one, that is true, but through this whole holistic view, right, of like being in every position, you kind of see how it all works together towards the artist. And number two, I don't know if you ever get this pushback, but it's like, dude, the best basketball coaches aren't the best basketball players. Yeah. So like you can't compare so directly, because that's what people do. And even the comparisons, it's all a very linear way of, to comparing. And it's like, no, I think if you're able to see this a little bit wider and a little bit deeper in terms of perspective and know that there are no rules into this, right? And then ultimately, like you said, what excites you? But I like to reverse that. It's like, what makes you fulfilled? Because happiness, it's whatever, but what makes you feel like, I feel good about what I'm currently doing. And you don't have to be touring just yet, but it's like, where you're on the journey, do you feel like whole, fulfilled?
Yeah. It's a great question to ask. It's a great introspective journey to take of like, what actually fulfills me? What about this world and about this scene fulfills me as well, right? There's so many great examples of artists that I've talked to on this podcast. When you hear about their journey and their story, I think, Bear Grylls is one of my favorite ones, where he's someone I've knew for such a long time. He's all over the world. Yeah, he's traveling the world, literally playing, all over the world, internationally touring artist. But he started off very similarly. He started off with a blog, Into the AM. It was a blog, and then it became he had a merch. I think maybe then he was throwing shows. He was a promoter, and then that turned into a merch company, which now is a really big merch company. He sold it off. But it was like 3 or 4 things. Oh, and he's a manager. I mean, he still is a manager too. And, runs a management company with like 8 artists and is a DJ. And it's just like, don't limit yourself to one thing. And again,
there's no one right or wrong way to do any of this. I gotta put that disclaimer out, because for some people, it is like a fucking straight line. It's just like, this is it. And they know that. And cool. But what I just want to encourage is like, if it's feeling, like you said, if you're burning out, if it's feeling heavy, if it's feeling like you're pushing a boulder up the hill, like allow yourself to explore a little bit, see what else is out there. See, and even just like, even musically as an artist too, it's like maybe fuck around with some other genres, go to some other parties, get out of that one scene that you're just a part of too, and see what else is out there. It's a big world. And I think especially as an artist, like a real true artist, and I do make the distinction between DJ / producer versus actually being an artist, right? An artist is going to really be in tune and be curious about life and all of the different flavors and all of the different types of things that they can taste and touch and play with and experiment. It's not about figuring out the formula. It's about continuous reinvention and exploration. And there's just so much to life for us to, fuck around with and like see what's out there. And that's going to make you a better artist.
100%. Look, an artist, they're not linear. They're more curious than anything else. A DJ producer is not very curious. Like, dude, this is the music that I'm trying to DJ and produce. And so therefore this is it. So I definitely
nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. But here's the thing, I feel like everyone who is kind of labeling themselves who they are. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone is ultimately an artist and creator. So are you. I mean, you're a creator of this platform, creator of spreading this message, getting more people, and this is art in a way. It's called art through communication, right? As an event organizer, promoter, like, dude, we're the artists of tonight's event. We're curating the production, the operation, the artists, all that stuff. And like in our way, that's in our own art. And so for anybody that's watching this, just because you're not a DJ producer or a producer, like, it doesn't mean that you're not an artist as well, because that's ultimately, we're all creating. We're all creating something. If you're creating opportunities, I mean, you're the artist of opportunities.
It's really cool. I'm actually going through, I have it right here. I'm going through this book again right now, The Artist's Way. I don't know if you've ever read it.
I have not, but I'm going to dive into it.
It's a good one.
I'm into books too.
This is a course. This is like a 12-week workbook and course that's really dope. I'm running a group through it right now, but it's bringing me back in touch with my roots of how and why I started what I do in the first place, as far as becoming an artist coach. And I think it's good. This is for the first time I'm really like distinguishing this and saying this out loud. And I think it's good that I do that. I'm not a DJ coach. I'm not a producer coach, but really being an artist coach and helping people get deeper in touch with their inner artist. And one of the really basic, almost like philosophies that I like to look at and to point out is the fact that literally all of us are creations. Like, we were created. You were created by your parents. All of us are all living, breathing, walking, talking manifestations of creative energy. And the truth is, we are creating all the time. Everybody is creating all the time, right? It's just we're either doing it consciously or unconsciously, right? We're creating our lives. You're creating your body. You're creating your relationship. You're creating your financial situation. We're creating this stuff that we call art. But at the end of the day, the biggest piece of art that everybody is creating is the masterpiece of their life. Yourself, right? You're creating yourself. You're creating your life.
You are the art.
We're all artists. And I know that's some deep meta shit, but it's kind of cool when you see yourself of like, wait a minute, like everything I do is art. Everything I do is creativity. And it's like, let's not limit it as just this 5-minute song is art. It's like, well, what about the rest of it, man? Like my dinner is art, the culinary arts, they call that, right?
Exactly,
like
man.
Everything
100%.
Can be art when you approach it that way. Yeah,
absolutely, dude. And this is endless in terms of how you chop it down. And I love how you also just mentioned, that you had to give a disclaimer that it can go either way. I mean, every advice that you have given out, it can go either way. And I recently came in with the conclusion. I literally came up with a lecture. I'm like, you know what? Because there's just so many questions, and I've answered so many of them that in the end, as I do, we're all right and wrong at the same time. And I want to use an example of this, just a very basic example, because an advice is only it can only be given to a person that is going through a certain context. So for example, like here's the question, Nick, should I start a music label? Well, the answer could be yes and no. It just depends on your context of it. I mean, if you just started making music 3 months ago and you're still in that journey, the answer is probably no. But if you've been making music for 4 or 5 years and you're actually putting music out, etc., and like you feel like you've defined your sound and you're ready to take that next level, then the answer is yes. You should create that platform to give opportunities for yourself and for others. Again, right? One question, but it could be yes and no. And so like I'm literally sitting there like, oh my God, having my own meta moment. Like, dude, everything is right and everything is wrong.
Yeah.
And the answer that everyone's looking for, you have to do the work. You have to take the step to meet the answer. You as the creative soul needs to unveil or weed through all that in order to find your answer, because only your obstacle is unique to you. Kind of like how we're all our own DNAs, your own journey, your own luck. And the biggest problem that I'm just getting frustrated is a lot of these artists, they want this answer of when. Well, when, Nick, if I work this hard and I put 3 years in and I do all this, will I make it in 3.5 years? It's like, dude, if you know a program that can tell you the exact when, let me know, because I want to sign up for that.
Yeah, man. I remember when I was younger, probably high or something, had this realization. I was like, wait a minute, like we all live on the same planet. There's like 8 billion people living on the same planet, living in 8 billion different worlds. I don't live in the same world as you. I live in the world of Nick Cherwink, right? And so any advice that's given to anybody, like you said, it might work for some people and it might not work for others, right? And that's because like I ultimately am living in my own world, and my path is my path, and it's my journey and my own set of rules that I get to make up. You know what I mean? So it's like the only way to really figure it out is to, I think it's really important to listen to yourself. It's great to take all the advice. And this is coming from 2 coaches, 2 teachers and educators and coaches. And it's like, okay, listen to everything I have to say and fucking listen to nothing that I have to say. Like, don't listen to any of it, and like listen to yourself and figure out your own thing, you know, and you gotta try shit out and see what works for you. But there's no one size fits all for anything in life, because everyone is living their own life, their own journey.
Yeah, exactly. Right? That's why it's going to even be harder for me to do Q&As moving forward. I literally had this epiphany like a week and a half ago. I was like, I'm done with Q&As, because whatever I say, it's either right or wrong. I mean, yes, there's people that agree on it, but it's like, okay, but then that's just for you. I feel like we need to add that context moving forward. Like, look, it just works for you. Now, if you guys all agree, it means you're on the same context. For those of you that don't agree, let's have a side chat about this.
I love it, bro. I love it, man. Well, look, let's talk about what else you have going on, because you have, as a fellow coach, a fellow mentor, a fellow educator, you have ArtistMap, which is the program that you offer for artists. So I would love
electronic
to hear
music
about,
artists.
Yeah. Tell me about ArtistMap. What is it? What are you offering over there? What does that look like?
First, if you don't mind me just sharing a little bit of story, because a lot of people do ask me, one of the doubts that people have is like, why are you doing this, GIA? Like, are you really desperate for like money and all, or like all these things? Like, well, first and foremost, there's some, but there's not a lot of money just yet to be made and stuff. And I was taken aback because it was after one of a really good session that I had with an artist. And I was like, do you have any other question? They're like, yeah, why are you doing this? Because you're busy as shit, just throwing events, everything that we see on this stuff. And like, now that you're making 30 minutes, 40 minutes a day or an hour, you know, however many, like, to talk to me, and I'm just an up and coming aspiring artist. And I have to share the story because ArtistMap actually saved my journey and 6 a.m. So this is in 2017, 18. I've done 6 a.m. for 10 years now. My approach during that period was very selfish, Nick, right? Me, my brand, my gigs, my team, me. And when everything crashed and burned, and when you have the mentality, no one is there for you. Everyone fucking left.
Totally.
And then you're there with the build, you're there with, you know, the debt, and then you're there with the reality of like, dude, I just spent 10 years here. Why am I still doing this? Everyone left. I feel toxic as shit. I'm burnt out. You know, I'm borderline substance abuse. You know what I mean? Like everything all encompassing, but it's like, no, I love this. I've dedicated to this. And so in order for me to kind of go through a spiritual journey, or whatever you want to call it, like in terms of my own, like, finding and discovery to not quit, I learned the concept of giving value to people and really doing it genuinely. And when I realized that concept, like, oh my God, I did everything wrong the last 10 years. I was not giving value to anyone besides me. And I was this toxic leader, like my way or the highway. You know, dude, I've gone through 100+ people on the team. I'm not proud of that either. Right. But ultimately, I realized instead of quitting, I need to turn all this knowledge and help this community. And the biggest community that make up the scene outside of ravers and consumers of the scene, they're artists. So that's why I started ArtistMap with that intent. Now, I'm not a producer per se. I wouldn't say I could teach people how to DJ. Like I know how, but then the teaching, the DJing, that's not really my thing. So I was like, you know what? Well, how can I come into this education online course space in this niche and still provide value? Well, you know what? There's a billion answers to be figured out after they learn how to make music and DJ, right?
Yeah.
So ultimately, the way I explain ArtistMap is, you know, we're a basketball camp that don't teach you how to dribble, shoot, and rebound. We teach you how to go to the NBA. We have all the tools. Now that you learn how to dribble, shoot, and rebound pass, which now that you know how to DJ and make music and it's good enough, all right, cool. This is how you approach promoters, labels. This is how you start your own label. This is how you throw your own parties. This is how you be more empowered. This is how you negotiate with venues. This is how you deal with interpersonal relationships with other people. This is how you deal with...
So important.
Dude, it's crazy, right? DJ duos, a DJ collective or promoter collective. Come on, we all know what happens after 4 or 5 years or after their first major setback. Bridges are burned because nobody knows how to communicate. So I even teach that, like, dude, you know, don't be like me burning 100-some people, right? Because you couldn't communicate your thoughts or vision and all that, or like you didn't have the courage to go through the difficult conversations to save that instead of burning it. So with that in mind, I was like, dude, I have something highly valuable to offer that is unique to me because I've also been in every position this industry has to offer. I mean, really, like I've worn all the hats and I realized, dude, through all the hats, all of them all play a part in helping artists. And every artist just needs to understand how these positions are also being played. So that's ultimately it. But here's the thing. I went through my own imposter syndrome journey. I went through my own artist journey as well. Well, who am I to teach? I'm not a touring artist. And I had to like get out of that mentality as well. And at the same time, it's like, wait, I need to create a lot of content. And that's super scary. I mean, it's like the internet is the internet. Like once you throw yourself out there, like you're not hiding behind a 6 a.m. brand. Like it is your faith, your face and your mouth out there, you know what I'm saying? Like it's, So I went through just like this crazy journey, and it wasn't only until the last like year and a half that I was like, you know what? Like I need to stop being a little bitch. I need to actually start doing the things that I preach others, that you got to go for it. And so that's kind of where I am right now. You know, I have mindset courses, I have time management, I have communication. I'm also teaching artists how to be better, how to throw their own parties, because everyone's like, no one's booking me. Well, throw your own parties. And guess what? After you throw your own party, that promoter's will be like, oh, wait, let's book this artist because, etc. So I really, you know, that's my whole ethos. And a lot of mindset that I feel like this is where we also connect as well. And I feel like, you know, I think this is where Michael felt the connection as well. He's like, you and Nick really have this holistic approach that like, you know, it should be about taking care of your life first. Whether, you know, do you call it spirituality? You know, I do just calling it just like, dude, personal development as well, right? Because the artist journey is this, but then there's life. Life is always going to be on top of the artist journey. So if we don't take care of life, there is no artist journey.
1000%, man. That was what got me really excited to connect with you, because I was like, after looking at some of your content and looking at the ArtistMap stuff, I was like, you're like the only other person that I've seen out there that is teaching the mindset stuff in this niche, in this industry, to this demographic. There's a lot of marketing courses out there. There's branding courses. There's so many fucking production courses teaching all these really important parts of what it takes to succeed as an artist. But that was the big thing that I learned working at Icon Collective for 7 years. And years before that, we've been working at Capitol Records, working as a manager, you know, literally worked with thousands of artists. And specifically in this niche, you know, I had, over 1,000 students that I worked with during my 7 years at Icon. And I saw a lot of them I should say I saw some of them go on to blow up and become huge. Some of them go on to have successful careers, but a lot of them that didn't, right? A lot of them that didn't.
Majority didn't.
For sure. And it's like, okay, what was it? Was it the music? Was it, the branding? Was it the marketing? And the thing is, underneath all of it is, who are you as a person? Right? Do you have the hunger? Do you have the drive? Do you believe in yourself? Are you taking care of yourself? Where's your mindset? Where's your energy? You know what I mean? Like, there's this whole other conversation that just nobody was having. And that's how I kind of got pulled into literally becoming a life coach. Like, I had this calling to just do life coaching. And it just so happened to be that everybody in front of me, everybody that I knew, were all artists. And so I just kind of fell into that. But I'm just really happy to see other people starting to have that conversation, because it's like, if your head's not in a good place, if your energy's not in a good place, if you don't have the energy to make music, you're not going to be able to, right? If you don't believe in yourself, and I know a lot of your stuff, I want to dig in a little deeper, is that time management and that discipline. And it's like some of that basic personal development, how to structure your life stuff. If that's not there, it's the foundation of everything, and the rest of it is going to be really fucking hard. It's going to feel like pushing a boulder up the hill.
I mean, look, I always say, what good is your piece of gear if you don't have your peace of mind? What good is your piece of gear? Like, come on, nothing. Great, marketing, but you're like having imposter syndrome mentally.
Yeah.
You have depression, anxiety. It doesn't matter what information, knowledge you have. If you don't have that grit, I also call it Grit, which is a book by Angela Duckworth. She kind of scientifically coined that word. It's relentlessness, I guess, but it's also just like this never ending, like, you're never going to give up. And and I know this is a touchy subject, because I have been told, like, Gia, like, you and your Gary Vee style of like bullshit, like, dude, just grind, just hustle, just grind, just hustle. It's like, dude, you're actually hurting people. But it's like, yeah, dude, that's true. But ask anyone who's ever succeeded and be like, yeah, they did it super easy, 9 to 8, 9 to 5, 30 hours, and burnout. What's a burnout? It's like, come on, like, dude, that is the journey. So it's like, I don't encourage a burnout, but I will say that a burnout is inevitable if you really have that hunger. Like, if you're really going after something that you care about, that's difficult, that's not so organized, as in like, oh, this is how you become an accountant, right? And that was supposed to be my journey. Like, you do this, you take a CPA, you intern at Ernst & Young, and you become, dude, not this journey. This journey is something else.
It's entrepreneurship. And it's a totally different path
But Nick, I'm an artist. I'm not an entrepreneur. It goes back to what you just mentioned. Your linear approach of thinking that you're just an artist. It's like, dude, you got to be more fluid. You got to open up your mind. Like, yes, you're an artist, but you got to have...
Well, you don't have to be both. You can be just an artist. You know what I mean? I'm getting back into making music this year because I like to play the guitar and I want to record some metal riffs. I'm not trying to start a fucking band and tour the world, though. I'm not trying to turn that into a business and have that become my full-time job and my full-time career. I already have that. The big thing that I learned within the first couple episodes of starting this podcast, and I had this huge light bulb go off where I realized that really is the missing link for a lot of artists, is seeing themselves not just as an artist, but making the decision to say, hey, I'm also going to step into this world of entrepreneurship and I'm also going to start a business, right? And with that does come a lot of long hours and a lot of like learning, a lot of education, a lot of trial and error. Just, you know, like any other person starting any other kind of business in any industry, it's a grind. There's definitely no way around it, you know, but I think there also are, you know, I don't know. I'm still learning. On my journey. I mean, you've been doing it for you know, a long time as well. It's like
I'm still learning too. Yeah.
I think that what's cool is there are becoming a lot of resources out there to help people do it better, do it more efficiently. It's just like building teams, not trying to do it all by yourself, right? Like building in rest to make sure that you don't burn out. That's something I work on a lot with my clients. I'm like, make sure like, you do take a day off and go to the fucking beach and get your toes in the water. And that's part of the sustainability. So, you know, again, there's no right way to do any of it. You got to figure out what's your system and what's going to work for you. Yeah.
Look, for any artist that's watching this, that's struggling of like, well, I'm an artist, not an entrepreneur, not a business. Look, I'm just going to set this straight. Your music is a product and your performance is a service. Every business sells a product or a service. So I'm sorry. By that default, you are in business for yourself. And if you understand that if you are in business for yourself, why would you not be the best you can be? But I guess there are shitty pizza shops and shitty coffee shops. So that's why shitty artists also exist as well.
So tell me a little bit more about what are the courses that you offer with ArtistMap specifically?
Yeah, so we have a free course, which is the mindset and discipline and approach as well. Approach is important as well, right? So you meet the promoter that you're finally meeting, or you're like, oh my God, nice to meet you. Here's my USB, book me. Dude, I've done that before. I've seen other people do that to me. So approach is also like a big part of it. Is what is your acumen? What is your temperance in order to deal with that? So that is the foundation of that, is like, hey, do you have the mindset? Do you have the discipline and approach? And this is how it is. And this is what I'm going to say. I created ArtistMap to also help people save time and to just make them realize, like, hey, if you're going to quit at 33, I might as well make you realize that at 24. So we're saving 9 years of your time. Just like you don't have to go through this 9 years, 10 years, 11 years, like, oh, this wasn't for me. We could have told you that. We could have told you that. That this is how it's going to go down. So ultimately, I give everyone a very honest blueprint, and it's essentially broken down into 4 phases with bonus courses in between. So phase 1 is mindset and development and approach. And in there, it's a homework. It's a homework assignment that could last 4 to 8 years. And it's just a 1-sentence homework assignment. Produce music 80% as good as your favorite producer, and send that over to me, and I have a team of engineers that could validate that for you. And dude, to get your music 80, 90% as good as your favorite producer, that's a 4 to 8 year grind, depending on how long you're doing it. And guess what? I don't see a lot of people in phase 2 because they have to pass phase 1 to get to phase 2. So 1,000 people, 1,200, and then like only like 90 gets through, because everyone's like, well, I'm not going to do this homework. So then there's phase 2. It's actually the real artist journey, right? Then you make music and DJ to make sure you hold that foundation, because you got to learn how to pass, dribble, and shoot, or else fuck you doing, right? Then phase 2 is all about social media, marketing, branding, and that self-identity. What is your artist identity? Now that you know how to make music, you know how to make techno, house, hip hop, dubstep, great. What is it that you really want? How are you going to showcase the world, etc.? And that's its own phase. Phase 3, which is about to be launched, it's about building your own community. And what this means is either launching a label or launching a collective, because look, it's true. Adam Bayer, Drumco, Jamie Jones, Paradise, Tell of Us, Afterlife, like it's inevitable. So you might as well start to do that, right? Like, and the only reason why it's in phase 3 is because, look, this journey is crazy. It's like phase 1, you're the artist. Phase 2, you're still the artist. Now phase 3, you got to be the artist and now create a label or a collective, and then still take care of artistry, take care of that. Phase 4 is where I call turning pro. And actually, there's only been 2 artists that's made it that far into the journey. And actually, I represent them now as an agent. I know. So a lot of them don't even know that. What's phase 4? I go, congratulations, I'm your agent. They're like, oh shit. And then we go through this crazy journey, because now, dude, they're going through this crazy journey of like, dude, I'm like, it's so hard to get you gigs. I know. Welcome to the first part of phase 4. It's called a reality check. Just because you have an agent, or a manager, it doesn't mean jack shit. It doesn't. You need demand. Still have to put in the work.
You need the fan base and demand.
You need a lot of demand and all of that. So ultimately, that covers it. And then, it's under a program called the Game Changer Pro. So there's a lot of information that will help you get through phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and eventually phase 4 as well. And then I have a time management mastery and then a communication mastery, which is coming out later this summer. The communication one, it's more about team communication. Obviously, there's relationship communication, communication with your spouse. That's one I need to read up on.
Give me that course.
But it's more about team communication. How do you, build a team? How do you manage a team? How do you manage egos as well? How do you decipher ulterior motives within it, right? Because look, 6am used to be a DJ collective. And at the peak of that DJ collective, brother, I was their booking agent. They would come in and be like, all right, Jid, where am I playing this weekend? I'm like, dude, you're playing Avalon, you're playing this after hours, all that. And it can get toxic. And it's like, they won't do the work unless there's a gig. So like that whole thing just completely like crashed and burned and stuff. So there's a lot of, telling you, there's a lot. And it's because we're dealing with people the whole way. And then you're dealing with yourself. and other people, egos. Nobody knows how to communicate. Nobody knows how to do business the right way.
It's so important. It's so important, man. And again, I think it's such a big piece of the puzzle that a lot of people are not talking about. It's so cool to see you talking about it, because those lessons that took you, 10 years to learn, 15 years to learn. Same thing with me. I mean, I've been in the industry for 15 years as well. And I was a manager, a huge part of my job as a manager. It's all relationships. It's all communication and negotiation. And do people like you? And are you developing, healthy relationships and alliances? And it's like so much less about business strategy than it is about emotional intelligence is really what we're talking about. So to take those lessons, I'm like, fuck, if somebody could have taught me this stuff when I was in my early 20s and I was trying to navigate the music business, even just as a manager, I kind of had to learn all those lessons, the hard way. So to have someone that's going to break it down and, like you said, kind of save people time, it is so huge, right? Because in the music industry, to a large extent, it is about who you know, but it's really about who you know that actually likes you and fucks with you, right?
It's crazy,
because it's
right?
like people are going to do favors for their friends, and this is where you have a lot of like fake bullshit, ass kissing kind of ego type of stuff. But like when you can really be a solid person, also have really healthy boundaries and not be a people pleaser or a pushover, but really be like genuine and authentic, be humble, but also, again, be strong and have those boundaries. It's like there's so much character development that you have to be able to, like, especially the deeper you go and you really start fucking with like big people in the industry, you got to have a really rock solid internal character. And there's a lot of work that you actually can do on that. Like a lot of it is like you have to just kind of get in the game and you develop that along the way. But like if you study the shit and you work on it and you learn it, it's like there's a lot that you can learn. I've been studying personal development since I was 21, 22, like right out of college, and like it served me really fucking well,
Yeah, dude, I only got into personal development like a little bit in my early 30s, going into mid 30s, because I was just so entrenched in this. I mean, and that's why I was a piece of shit asshole. Like, I mean, I'm just gonna say it that way. I mean, I wasn't the nicest in terms of how I approached it in my 20s, but I got a lot of things done. But
but at what expense? Right? Yeah, man.
Absolutely. And look, to unpack what you just said right here, because a lot of people are like, look, because I get it. Like, we're in the question economy now. So all the artists like, dude, that sounds great, Nick. How do I do that? How do I become that? So I want to just be able to give someone who's watching this some just very basic guidance. Number one, always ask, how can I give value to others without expecting anything in return? Because here's the reality, right? If you're really genuine about this, it will test you. It will really fucking test your character. Because by giving and then just like, I don't need anything. I don't want nothing. I don't want no gigs. I don't want money. I'm just here to give and provide value. That will test you and that will reveal who you really are. Because, I just posted a video today and so it was like, don't be a this for that. Networking is about relationships, not transactions, right? But then I ended with, look, do it genuinely and not because some asshole, not because some person on Instagram told you to do so. Because here's the thing, Nick. This is one thing a lot of artists are good at. Artists are smart and be like, that's a great idea. Now I'm going to take advantage of that mentality and like, I'll do it genuinely, but in my soul, in my heart, I know that, Nick and GIA said that if I act this way, be like, oh yeah, cheers. But then, dude, I'm here to tell you, if in your heart, if it still has that, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, this thing, it's just going to push you further away from it. And then you're going to be even more pissed off, be like, Nick, GIA, it didn't work.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. This is it, bro. This is the shit I really work on with people in my one-on-one coaching stuff. Because it's like, yes, this is the Headliner Mindset podcast, but I love that you're actually pointing at your heart. If it's not in your heart, it's not just the mindset, it's also the heart set. Where's your heart? Where's your soul? You know what I mean? Like
I call it GRINDSET.
GRINDSET, yeah.
Your mindset, GRINDSET, yeah.
That lesson right there, you were saying that, I love that you're bringing it up again, this idea of give unconditionally, right? Give first before you take. I was so lucky to learn that lesson pretty early on in my career. I'd worked at Capitol Records for the first 3 years of my career and then was a manager for like a year or two. And so during those first experiences, it was straight up music business. Like, what do we have to do to promote our artists, to get our, to get our bag, to get what we want, right? And it was just like, it was this total kind of cutthroat music business shit that I was a part of. And it wasn't until I started working at Icon Collective that, shout out David Alexander. I actually have an episode with him. Highly recommend all of you guys go listen to the episode with David Alexander, one of the co-owners of Icon Collective. But he sat me down and he's like, hey man, he's like, if you're going to be the one out there, like really being the face of our company and representing the collective, I want you to approach every relationship from the perspective of, what can I do for you?
Yeah.
And he completely fucking flipped my world upside down in that one conversation. But I started practicing it. And it was purely about like, hey, how can I help? What are you trying to accomplish? How can I serve you? How can I benefit you? Fucking take it from me. Go do that for 5 years. Go do that for 7 years and watch the universe deliver everything that you've ever wanted back to you. And it's not always going to come back to you maybe from that person that you help out directly, but you just become that kind of person, which means you just start attracting that kind of energy back into your life. And maybe it sounds like some woo-woo shit, but like, just go and fucking try it or try it the other way and see where that gets you also.
Exactly. 100%. Thank you for sharing that. It's funny that you were working at Capitol Records during that time. I was probably, we probably crossed paths because I was hanging out in Hollywood and Avalon area so much during those years. But yeah, dude.
Yeah, I got my start at Avalon, like in the electronic scene, really on the Friday night parties for Control with Chris and Jaso. Those are the guys that like got me into the EDM scene. I also have episodes with both of those guys y'all should check out. So
we definitely did connect because we were the ones who did the Friday Bardo Frenzy After Hours upstairs every Friday night. It was
for
us.
sure, dude.
Holy shit, that was you guys.
I'd be all fucked up at 2 a.m. after getting free drinks at Control and be like, let's keep it going. Let's go upstairs.
And then I mean, if you ever saw a bunch of Asian DJs playing there, man, it was me and like
Yeah, man.
It's awesome. Amazing to see how then, like, we didn't connect them, but now we're connecting here through this whole different narrative that we're trying to push. So, look,
bro.
To give everyone that's watching an example in terms of the value that you provide, I mean, it's a voice, it's a platform, it's to help us promote whatever it is that we're trying to promote, and obviously share many, many insights, right? Because every podcast, every episode, people will walk away with something that they can take action on. And that's one thing, at ArtistMap is what I really emphasize. Don't just be a knower. Don't just like, I know now. I know. Say no, you got to go do it. Don't watch all the courses. Watch the courses that matter and you have to go apply. So I feel like you and I could probably chat for even longer. Our hours
1,000%, man. 1,000%. Well, as far as action items, you said you have that first part of your course is free, you said, right? So
yes, it is.
Everybody go start the first part of ArtistMap. I'll put a link for it in the show notes for you guys to go and check out. But if any of this is resonating with you, if you want to dive further into some of this mindset stuff that we've been talking about, JIA is the fucking man, and you guys should totally go check his stuff out.
Yeah, well, in reverse, you're the man as well, Nick, and I've always enjoyed your content. And I reached out to you even before Michael connected us, even to quickly, I think I just quickly reached out like, hey, Nick, awesome content. I love what you're doing.
It was only a matter of time, bro. I'm glad that we finally got connected, and thanks so much for taking the time to hop on.
You say it long enough, strong enough, you will believe it as truth. And what you believe is true, you will create in physical reality.